makers, welcome back. It's Mrs.
and Mr. Tate.
here to make some
Candles!
Here we go. Mr. Tate, what do we need?
So, first and foremost, Mrs. Tate gets mad at me at home about this, but I'm always a little bit messy, okay? And candles is probably one of the messier things you're going to do whenever you're building stuff for your store, okay? So the first thing you need to do is grab either your trash bag or shower curtain that's in your box and put it over your entire workspace, okay? We don't want anything to get messy. We want to keep everything clean, okay? Now the fun stuff. Okay, first we've got our candle flakes or candle, what else do you call them?
Wax.
Wax. Believe it or not, this is going to turn into a candle at some point. It's a little bit amazing, a little bit of magic, but it's going to be awesome. Next we've got our candle wick. And up next we've got a little glue dot. So it's a little circle. It's going to work like a sticker. Okay. Up next we've got our candle tin or our mason jar. Okay. Depending on what's in your box, you're going to get one of the two of them. I'm going to bet it's probably going to be a mason jar. But today, we're going to use a candle tin. Okay? Up next, we've got two popsicle sticks. The first one is called a bow tie clip, and it's got a little bitty hole drilled right into the middle of it. Next one's our stirring stick, and it's just going to be a regular old popsicle stick. Okay? Up next, we've got our color brick. Today, we're going to be making forest green, so pretty awesome. And next we've got our bottle of smelly good stuff. This one's going to be awesome because it is cinnamon and vanilla.
Mr. Tate picked it.
I love that kind of stuff. So next we've got our two measuring cups. Okay, so just like the last time, we've got a larger measuring cup and a little measuring cup. So depending on what we're measuring, we're going to have to pick which one we're going to use. Next, we've got our temperature gauge, our thermometer. It's going to tell us how hot or cold something is. Next, we've got two different pots. We've got a pouring pot that we're going to pour our mixture with. And next, we've got our larger pot that we're going to boil some water with. Next, we've got a scale that's going to tell us how heavy something is. Last but certainly not least, we've got our heating pad or our hot plates. Okay? Hot plates get what, Mrs. Tate?
Hot.
So the biggest thing we're going to need is we're going to have to be very safe whenever we're working with our hot plate. Since they get so hot, it's going to be very easy to burn yourself with. So we're going to want to use some protective materials and have some little bit of help maybe whenever we're working with some of this stuff. All right, let's dive right into it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare our candle tin. Okay?
Mr. Tate, before you do though, can we go ahead and start our water?
Yes, we can. Okay, so what we need to do for this project is we're going to have to boil water. Okay, so what boiling water means is basically getting water very, very, very hot to where it gets a little bit bubbly in order to start to kind of cook some things. Typically, you do this whenever you're cooking mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
One of Mrs. Tate's favorite
Whoop,
foods.
whoop.
So we're going to go ahead and get that started. We're going to put our hot plate on high in order to get that temperature up really high. Okay? While we're doing that and our water's heating up a little bit, we're going to prepare our candle tin. Okay, so I'm going to grab my candle tin. I'm going to pull the top off of it, and I'm going to grab my wick. Okay, so the wick is what the customer is going to burn their candle with. They're going to light it on fire. That's kind of awesome. And I'm going to set it. We're going to try to find the middle of our tin right here. We're going to place it right down in there. Okay, so to the best of our ability, we're going to keep it just like this. And we're going to use our bow tie clip. That's the one that's got the hole right into the middle of it. Okay? And we're going to feed our wick down in the middle of that hole, and we're going to set it up just like so. So what this popsicle stick is for is to help keep our wick in place while we're doing all of our other work with it. So, Mrs. Tate, what's next?
Perfect. We're going to get the wax and the fragrance ready. So, get your scale, and then Mr. Tate will pull it up closer so you guys can see what I'm doing to zero it out to make sure I have the right amount of stuff in it. So, I'm going to get my large measuring utensil right here. Perfect. Get your large one on there. Put it on there. You want to make sure over here it's little bitty. Let me see if I can show you. There you go. These letters right over here, whenever you're doing the wax, you want to make sure that it says LBOZ. So that stands for pounds and ounces. And I'm just going to press the 0 button right here. Make sure it gets all the way to 0 across there. It'll take just a second. Perfect. I'm going to get my wax next. So get your wax. We are going to measure out about 7 ounces of wax. So we're going to pour it right in there. Be careful. Make sure it doesn't go above 7. We're at about 8. I'm sorry. We're going to measure out 8 ounces. It might not be perfect, but oh, there it was. The closer you can get, the better to 8. You only want to be just around 8. Once I do that, I'm going to grab my pouring pitcher right here. It's kind of hard to see that close. There you go. And I'm just going to pour in all the wax so it's ready to go. Excellent. Make sure you get all of it out of there. And then it's ready. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my little bitty kind of shot measuring ounces glass, and I'm going to change the mode over here. There's a button that says mode. You can see it good right there. I'm going to press it, and it's going to go to FLOZ. That's for fluid ounces. And I'm going to press the 0 button to make sure it's at 0. There we go. I'm going to get my fragrance next. And I'm going to pour it in. Pour it in slow. Make sure that you don't overfill it. Perfect. Once it is at 0.5 fluid ounces, you will be ready to go. So it is at 0.5 ounces, half a fluid ounce. It's ready to go. All right, you guys, we are back with the next step. So you want to make sure that your water is boiling. So lots of bubbles in your water. You guys can see the steam and how hot it is right there. So be very careful. Also make sure that you have nothing around your pot. It's just like making a grilled cheese or a quesadilla or
mac and cheese.
And so you don't want anything to touch it because it will melt it or burn you. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our wax in this little pouring pitcher. We're going to put it straight in your pot. So be careful. When you put water in your pot originally, you want to make sure that your pot's not going to overflow whenever you put the pitcher in. So you want about half of the pot to be filled of water before you start boiling it. Put your pitcher in. We are just going to have to wait for a little bit. After everything gets all boiled and melted, it will be loose like a liquid, so you'll know that it's ready. Once it gets there, and Mr. Tate and I kind of already started a little bit, so it's a little bit melted, you are going to get your color dye. So get your color dye, and then you're just going to plop it in. Once you plop it in, though, you want to make sure that you have your
stirring stick.
And then we're just going to stir it to make sure the color gets everywhere. So be very careful, Mr. Tate. Don't burn your fingers. All right, we're going to pop that in. It might take a little bit, and it might not. We'll just have to see, but we're just going to keep stirring it. Mr. Tate, do you know what our next step is?
So while you're doing that, I'm going to talk about thermometers for a second, because sometimes they can be a little bit tricky to read. Okay, so whenever we're looking at a thermometer, we're going to see a couple different things. Okay, we're going to see that we have a C up there, and we have an F down there. Okay, C stands for Celsius. F stands for Fahrenheit. Those are the two things that help us see how hot something is. And in the middle, we're going to see a little blue line that as something gets hotter, that blue line is slowly but surely going to come up here. What we're going to look for in our measurement is we're going to look for right around 185 degrees. And you'll notice whenever we put it in there, that blue line is going to start to grow, and it's going to be pretty awesome.
185 degrees what?
Fahrenheit. We care about the F down here.
Okay. So you're just going to keep stirring a little bit. Make sure that you get it nice and stirred. When you think it's pretty good, and I think it's pretty good, you're going to take your stir stick out and then put the thermometer in.
Okay.
And can we just leave it, Mr. Tate, or do we need to
hold it? We can just leave it. So it's probably a good idea to just set it in there, let the water do its measuring, and slowly but surely, our blue line is getting a little bit higher. We're at 125 degrees.
We're going to
185.
We'll show you whenever we get done. But once it hits 185, we're going to take this pot with all the liquid out. We're going to immediately pour in our fragrance in this little measuring shot, and we're going to have to stir it, and stir it fast. You don't stir it slow with the fragrance because it'll mess it up. So stir it fast. Once we've got it nice and stirred, Mr. Tate, what will we do?
We're going to pour it into our candle tin with our wick, and then guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We are finished.
We wait a day, and then it's good to go. Cha-ching, cha-ching. All right.
All right. We are getting really, really, really close. We're about 175. So things are getting really crazy. That's why I put my hat on backwards this time, because it was time for business.
Game time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys. I also kept my burner on high, because if you don't put it on high, it's going to take a long time to heat up. So keep it on high, which means that it might keep boiling the whole time. So just be very careful and don't let water scorch it. But keep it on high so it doesn't take too long. How are we doing?
I think we are right there.
Perfect. Can you show them?
Yep. So I'm going to very carefully grab my thermometer, okay? You can kind of see that I've got a little bit of my blue dye, or green, oh, whoops, hey-oh. That's why we're very careful.
Here.
Yeah, I'm going to use my protective equipment. Some of Mrs. Tate's wonderful pot holders. I'm going to pull this guy out. I'm just going to set him down onto the table, okay? Exactly why we have our trash bag down on the table, just so I can set it down on there.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. All right, you guys. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pot holder here, and I'm going to take out the candle. Be very careful again. Mr. Tate, will you turn off my burner for me?
Yep.
I'm going to get my fragrance, and I'm going to pour it straight in. And remember, are we going to stir fast or slow, Mr. Tate?
We're going to stir fast.
Very fast, but be neat. You don't want it to spill out. I'm going to stir, stir, stir. Then, Mr. Tate, I'm going to let you pour it. So why don't you put the pot holder on? I think I got it nice and good. I don't see any lumps, anything like that in my candle. Here we go.
Okay, so I'm going to put on my pot holder, and I'm just going to pour it into my candle tin right here.
Now, you don't want to hold the tin because it will be very hot. So, if you need to hold the wick, you can have somebody come help you. You're going to pour it in, but you're not going to touch anything. Have your helper hold your popsicle stick so that it doesn't move, so that your wick stays still, just like that.
So I'm going to fill up just about to the top. So you guys can see we're just about all the way to the top. Don't want to go over. We want to make sure that we're being careful as we're pouring because sometimes there's going to be more liquid in here than we have room for in our tin. And if we go too high, well, that means we're going to have it all over our table. So we want it to look nice and neat. So whenever we sell it, people are going to be say, hey, the Miller Makers, they're really good at making candles. So I'm going to put my pot back onto my pot holder. And guess what? At this point, all we need to do is just sit back and wait. We've made an incredible candle. It's going to smell really, really good. And all we have to do is we're going to set it in a spot where it can stay safe, where nobody's going to touch it or mess around with it. And I bet by the time you come back to school tomorrow, we're going to have a candle.
Absolutely. So if you need help moving it, ask a teacher, though. Or make sure that you just put it in a place that could stay there till tomorrow anyway when you start. That'd be the smartest.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for making a candle with us. Miller Makers, good luck with your store. Mr. and Mrs. Tate are...
Deuces. We're out.
Bye.